Hi, what's up everyone and welcome to today's video. I just want to go over skill mods today on the Division 2 and explain exactly how they work because there's been a change recently that makes it a lot easier to manage them. They stated that when we pick up skill mods, we are no longer going to need to basically store them anymore because they will take over the existing mod that you have if it's of greater value. And if it's of lesser value, then it'll automatically get dismantled. However, there's a few things you need to know and understand about how this system works. So we're going to go into that today. And the first thing that we want to have a look at is the mod menu itself. So you can see the mod menu here from your inventory screen. I'm currently on 88 out of 100. That's the maximum amount I can hold. And there's two different mod types. We've got gear system mods and we have skill attachment mods. Now for the gear system mods, these are completely separate than the skill ones. And these changes that they've made do not include the gear ones. So these are still going to work exactly the same as they did before. You will need to collect every single one of these and manage these separately. They are not going to overtake any that you already have or automatically dismantle or anything like that. So everything you currently know about mods before the change will still apply to the gear system ones. So we're not going to discuss those today. We're just discussing the skill attachment ones because this is where the change has occurred. Now, if I quickly have a look at my sticky bomb attachments here, you can see I've got one here at a blast radius of 4.6%. Now if I go and farm another one of these mods and it's of higher value, this one will automatically get dismantled and the newer one that I find will take its place. If I farm and I get one lesser of this value of 4.6%, then it'll automatically dismantle the one that I pick up, keeping this one in place. That is basically how it works, and we've kind of like gone over that twice now. So let's move on because there are a few things that you need to be aware of. Now, one thing that I used to do was I always favorited my mods. So I would favorite them all. Every single mod I had on me would be favorited, so it was easier to manage them when it came to my inventory management. And when this change first came in this season, I was not noticing that my skill attachment mods were getting managed as they said they would. I was still picking up duplicates, nothing was getting dismantled, and I was very confused. And that's because the game will not dismantle anything that is favorited. I've spoken to a few people about this and they've now made this change to make sure the system works. So if you're like me and my friends that have been favoriting all of your mods, you'll have to go and unfavorite all of your skill attachment mods to make sure that the system works for you. You can notice here that under every skill attachment mod type now, I have nothing favorited. So now the system works. So if you're having the same problem, make sure this is the first thing that you do. I've just started a game of Countdown to show you exactly how this works in play. So I've targeted skill attachment mods, and if I pick up any duplicates, it's gonna show you this works by giving you printer filaments in the bottom left hand side of the screen. So if I just pick these up, I'm going to pick them up as junk, and in the bottom left hand side of the screen there, you'll see I got awarded 6 printer filament. This means that one of those was a duplicate, and it's either stored the higher value and got rid of the old one, or just got rid of the one I picked up because it wasn't a better value. I'll pick up another one here, and this time there's no printer filament, so that's a brand new mod altogether, which is going to store in my inventory. So with everything we've just been over, you may now feel that you no longer need to manage your skill attachment mods. You'd be terribly mistaken though, because there's so many flaws to this system which I now want to go over. So if I just come out to my main inventory screen, you can see my mod capacity is at 100 of 100. I'm no longer able to pick up any mods because I've reached my capacity. If you get to this point, you're not able to pick up mods, you're not able to use a system, and you'll get to this point very, very quickly because there's so many different skill attachment mods out there. It won't take too long, especially if you run Countdown and you target them. You'll have this maxed out in no time. So with that alone, you are going to still need to manage skill attachments. And you might think, well, I can use my stash. So let's head over to our stash space in the base of operations here. You'll notice that we do have a section where we can store mods. And we can throw mods in here if we want to. We can throw gear mods and skill mods to store them. Now, if you were to do that, the problem with that is with how this new system works, it only checks off against the mods that are on your character. It's not going to check off against mods that are in your stash. And furthermore, if you have multiple characters, it isn't going to check off against the mods that are on your separate characters either. It is only going to work on the mods that are on your current character. So what this means really is you're going to have to work on each character separate if you're going to use this system. And I wouldn't really store anything in the stash. I just keep everything on your character and manage it as you go. But there's still another problem, and that problem is that you are going to reach that cap a lot. So how do you manage that? Well, the reason you're reaching the cap so often is because we have duplicate mods still. I'm going to show you what I mean by this. If we go into trap attachments here, you can see even though I am using this system to manage the mods for me, I've still got a 5% duration mod and a 7.5% duration mod that are completely different mods. This is because they are different named versions of the mod, and these different named versions have different attribute values as well. You can see one goes higher than the other. If you just notice here on this one at 5%, it's called the trap charge improvement named mod, and the one that goes to 7.5% is called a trap electronics upgrade named mod. So even though they're the same attribute, they are completely different mods, and they may also go in different slots as well, but we don't know about that unless you change your view of how you see your mods. Now, I like to see them in grid view, but if I go into options, I can change it to list view, and then it does say what slot they go into. So although they're the same attribute, you can see that one goes in the charge slot, one goes in the electronic slot. So these are separate mods, even though they look like duplicates. I want to show you another example as well. We're now going to have a look at hive attachments. I've put it back on grid view because it's easier to show you. But if I filter this, you can see I've got 4 of these mods here that give my hive health. We've got one at 8.8%. We've got one at 8.9, 8.8, 7.1. They appear as all duplicate mods that are not being managed. But you'll notice that on each mod, they are a different named mod. We have a backpack battery, a network firewall, a polycarbonate housing, and a swarm control. Now with this example, I can show you that not all of these are separate slots. So again, if I just go to options and switch to list view, you can see that these all go in the same slot. They all go in the system slot. It is absolutely pointless having all of these. You're only ever going to be able to use one of them, and you just want to keep the 8.9% one. But because they are different named mods, the game does not recognize them as being the same, hence why it's still picking them up as if it's a different mod. So this does make managing your mods a little bit tricky, and I feel the system is quite flawed to that degree, because the whole point of this skill attachment mod change was that it kind of manage it for you, leaving you less to do. Now, one thing I will say as a positive is how it was in the past. I didn't care for these mods at all. I never managed them. I just favorited them if I've had something for a slot, and then I wouldn't care about what the attribute role was. I didn't care. With how this works now, I do feel like I can manage it a little bit more easier. So it is an improvement for me, but it's nowhere near what they were trying to achieve, in my opinion. And there's different ways you can go about managing these mods now. Now, if you want to use a system where it is going to dismantle these for you and, do all that automatically, you are still going to have to manage these. And what you're going to want to do is every time you get to like your cap of 100 mods, you're going to need to go through each of your skill attachments and manage them still. And I wish it could just be a simple case of just like go into the hive here and just filter in and seeing what you've got duplicates on. Because when you filter in any of these, you can just press filter. You can see where there's duplicates. See 3 cone size mods there. You can see 2 effect duration. While you're doing this, obviously you'll ignore anything that's to do with the specialization because they're special ones. But it'd be easy if you could just go, right, there's 3 cone size. I am now just going to keep the one that's the highest value. We can't do that though, because as we've just shown you, some of these may go in different slots, which means you'd be deleting something that could be of value if you did that. So what you're going to have to do is switch to the list view so it can show you what slots they are in. So on mods where they do just go into the same slot, you can just simply leave one of the highest value and just mark junk on the rest. But then on duplicate mods that go into different slots, you know that you're going to want to keep the highest value of each slot. So it is going to be a little bit of management needed on your part. Once you're full, I just advise going through each and one of these, just filtering like I just shown you, going through all the duplicates and making sure you're only keeping the maximum value of what goes into different slots. So I've just gone through all of my mods now, making sure that any duplicates that were of the same slot were marked for junk. And when I dismantle everything, it's going to get rid of those. And it does take my mod inventory down to 69 out of 100. It's a little bit of work to do, but I'm now free to go farming again however I want and wait until they build up again to manage them. One thing to mention at this point before we move on though, is obviously in your mod inventory, it's only including what's not already on a skill. So if we go over to my revive hive here, any mods that I have in place already are on here, and these are not going to get managed when I'm sorting out my inventory. So you will need to like just check these from that now and again to make sure you got your best mods on, because you will miss these. However, with the system that the game's introduced where it does manage these for you, they will notice what's on your skills. So for example, if I was to get another swarm control duration mod out on my travels and it was of a higher value, 5%, it would dismantle this one that's on my skill and replace it with the one that I find. So the system does cover that. The only problem with that I noticed is that it would do it for the current build that I've got equipped, but if I was to change to any other build that I've got saved, I noticed it didn't do it for that and it just removed the mod. So sometimes, again, you may just need to go over your builds to make sure that mods haven't been removed, because if they have, you just need to replace them yourselves. Again, there are so many flaws with this system, and I can see why people are getting quite agitated with it, because it doesn't really improve it as I think we wanted it to, because there's still a lot of management around it. And if you do play with multiple characters and you want to kind of farm for mods for both characters, the system works against you because it dismantles everything. So going back to the start of the video, if you don't want to use the system, what you can instead do is favorite every mod that you've got. If you favorite them, it isn't going to go through this system of dismantling it for you or organizing it for you, which means you'll still be able to organize it yourself. Favorite every mod, and then when you go into your inventory, you are then still free to manage it how you want to. You can then see the mods that you've picked up, you can move them to stash, you can move them to other characters, and you can still do it the old way. But you must favorite them all to make sure it's cancelled out from the new system. But that is everything I've learned about the new skill attachment management system in the Division 2 that was introduced. I had a lot of questions about this, mainly because it wasn't working for me, because I favorited everything, but I did want to get it all down in this video for anyone else that may have had questions. So if this video has been helpful, please do hit that like button, hit subscribe for more content, and this video is part of my beginner's guide playlist to the Division 2 in 2024. If you need any more content to help you out with the game if you're a new player or a returning player, there's a link down in the video description to my beginner's guide playlist. Go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching this one though, and until next time, stay safe and peace out.